All right, my friends, things in Washington have gone completely haywire. Again, I know you feel it. I know you see it. Our collective IQ points are dropping by the minute as the headlines get more surreal, more chaotic, and more unbelievable. And yet here we are, living through another chapter of economic and political madness. Today, we're diving into something that will shake the very foundations of the global order. We're going to talk about America's allies pushing back against Trump's demands, the government shutdown, and most importantly, why this entire circus could doom the US dollar itself. If trust in the United States was once a 5 out of 10, it's now hovering around a shaky 2, or maybe even lower. And make no mistake, once trust collapses, everything else follows. But let's start where the fire is burning hottest, the global chip war. The United States has been on a mission to stop China from getting its hands on the latest AI chips. That's the battleground now. Forget oil. Forget steel. The future is about silicon, semiconductors, and AI brains that will run entire nations. The big strategy out of Washington is this: shift global semiconductor production back to American soil. But here's where things get messy. Lutnick, one of Trump's allies in this battle, has now openly demanded that Taiwan move 50% of its entire chip production capacity to the United States. Let that sink in. Half of Taiwan's semiconductor industry, the crown jewel of modern technology, should be uprooted, shipped across the Pacific, and rebuilt in America's deserts. Sounds bold, right? Maybe even visionary? Well, it's also insane. Let's put this into perspective. Right now, 95% of the world's most advanced chips are produced 9,000 miles away from the US and only 80 miles from mainland China. That's a precarious situation, but demanding that Taiwan give up half its production is like asking a world-class athlete to cut off one leg so you can share the victory. It doesn't work. Here's the kicker. Taiwan isn't playing ball. The response came loud and clear from Taiwan's vice premier. No commitment, no agreement, no way. The island understands what's at stake. If they shift half of their production to America, those factories essentially become American property. Taiwan loses leverage, loses independence, and becomes little more than a branch office for Washington. Even worse, transferring that kind of technology opens a dangerous Pandora's box. Will the US simply claim it as their own? Will Taiwanese engineers suddenly find their intellectual property absorbed into America's defense industrial base? And who pays the price for that? Taiwan, of course. And then there's the cost problem. Building chips in the US is astronomically expensive. According to TSMC's own founder, Morris Chang, the Arizona project is nothing more than an expensive exercise in futility. Labor costs are sky high. Efficiency is low. The culture is different. By some estimates, producing chips in the US could cost 50% more than in Taiwan. And remember, without a reliable domestic supply chain, US factories are stranded. They'll need high-purity chemicals, rare earths, and critical metals. And guess who controls those? China. That means Beijing could cut off supplies to US plants while continuing to ship them to Taiwan, effectively controlling the flow with one squeeze of the hand. It's a supply chain chokehold, and America doesn't have an answer. Let's not forget that while the US buys a lot of chips from Taiwan, the biggest customer is still China. Add up mainland China and Hong Kong, and we're talking about nearly $90 billion worth of chips every year. Now imagine what happens if Taiwan agrees to shift production to the US. China won't take that lightly. The response will be fierce. Chinese buyers will ask, do we really want to pay inflated prices for chips made in the Arizona desert? And Beijing will also fear something else: data. If chips are produced in America, Washington could easily track what kinds of processors Chinese companies are ordering, what sectors they're feeding, and which industries are growing. That's strategic intelligence Beijing simply cannot allow. So Taiwan refusing the deal isn't just a matter of economics. It's survival. And while Trump pushes this vision of a semiconductor empire, reality is sinking in. Even if you move factories to America, it doesn't magically stop China. In fact, it makes them stronger. Washington revoked TSMC's validated status for its Chinese factory, forcing any future shipments of chip-making gear to go through US approval. That bottleneck only fuels Beijing's determination to go fully independent. Look at what's already happening. Huawei is set to double its AI chip output by 2026. Their flagship 910C chip will see 600,000 units produced next year alone, and the 910D, designed to compete directly with NVIDIA, is on the way, with mass production already lined up. US export controls are failing. Instead of stalling China, they're accelerating its domestic innovation. The gap in AI models between the US and China has shrunk dramatically. 2 years ago, America was 100 points ahead in language models. Today, that gap is barely 24 points. Here's the brutal truth. You cannot win a trade war without supply chains. Tariffs don't fix that. Protectionism doesn't fix that. If you try to rebuild everything at home without affordable inputs, you're just running a marathon with a weighted vest. China understands this. That's why they're racing ahead not with cheaper labor but with robotics, automation, and complete industrial ecosystems. They can leapfrog bottlenecks. They can move fast. The US, meanwhile, is throwing spaghetti at the wall, hoping something sticks. As if the chip war wasn't chaotic enough, Washington decided to light another fire under the economy. The government shutdown. The Kabuki theater is back on stage. Federal workers sent home. Paychecks frozen. Projects halted. But this time, it's much worse. Trump has hinted at firing tens of thousands of federal workers outright. Infrastructure and energy funding, over $25 billion worth, has already been slashed, mostly in blue states. This isn't just a budget battle. It's economic sabotage. The US economy depends on consumer spending, and when you cut jobs in both government and private sectors, you crush demand. Payrolls are already collapsing, down 32,000 in September, after falling in August as well. That's no coincidence. The tariff war started and payrolls fell. Cause and effect. Now here's where things get truly dangerous. Every shutdown erodes confidence in the US dollar. Investors see dysfunction, they see chaos, and they start to run. Back in the 2018 shutdown, the dollar lost over 2% of its value in just weeks. Today, it's happening again, but the stakes are higher. Foreign investors are asking, are dollar assets even safe anymore? Gold nearly smashed through $3,900 yesterday. That's not random. It's a flight to safety. And the IMF itself admits the dollar's share of global reserves has fallen to just 56%, the lowest since 1995. If this continues, we could soon see the dollar's dominance fall below 50%, maybe even into the 40s. Imagine what that means, the end of the dollar as the world's unchallenged reserve currency. Besson, one of Trump's top economic advisors, promised the world a golden age economy. He claimed America was the shining selling point of global finance, the safest, strongest, most liquid market in the world. But reality tells a different story. You don't get a golden age by default. You earn it. You build it with trust, with stability, with functioning institutions. Right now, all of that is crumbling. The government is shutting down. The dollar is losing ground. Allies like Taiwan are openly pushing back. Even the IMF is ringing alarm bells. America is burning bridges at the exact moment it needs them most. So here we are, deep in the danger zone. The US is demanding loyalty it cannot command. It's spending money it doesn't have. It's slapping tariffs on rivals while cutting its own economic lifeline. And all the while, China is quietly innovating, building, and preparing for the next round. This isn't just politics. This is the future of the world order. And now I want to hear from you. Do you think Taiwan will keep resisting America's pressure? Will China's chip independence change the game completely? And most importantly, do you think the US dollar is truly doomed if this chaos continues? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one. If you found this breakdown valuable, make sure to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with your friends. It helps us grow, and it keeps you updated as we navigate through these crazy times together. Stay safe, stay sharp, and I'll see you in the next one.